Okay, so last day, story time stream. It was like last day of work. I gotta find spooky music, actually. Hold on. Last day of work. Literally for the last hour and a half, we literally got like the head janitor, like our boss, a maintenance guy, and like all the kids, and we literally just told ghost stories for an hour and a half. Beforehand, though, we went. Our school is apparently haunted by a little girl named Lily. Lily hanged herself off the catwalk, supposedly. So we had these cheap ass hand phone ghost detectors, which didn't allow privileges to like your mic or anything. So me and my friend were like, it's literally just gonna give you randomly generated stuff and say it. Like, it's retarded. And like, we were in the middle of the hallway and it was saying stuff like radiation and really stupid shit like that. And so what we did, we went up to the catwalk, which is creepy as fuck, by the way, because it's really easy to fall off. So we were up there, and that would, fuck me, that music scared the shit out of me. We read, we say, Lily, were you murdered? And then both of the phones at the same time, one says correct, one says yes, sir. I about fucking jumped off myself. I was like, what the fuck? Because they were just saying random shit the whole time. The second we asked that, both of the phones were saying different shit the whole time. So there's no way they could like sync up. And then they said that at the same time. I was like, what the fuck is happening, dude? I was so scared. In that moment, I was like, oh, time for me to leave. And then, so we were all telling stories, and we had our maintenance guy, Charles. He says,
of course his name is Charles.
It has to be, right? It's a great name. He lived in this old ass, scary ass apartment, and he has kids. And one of his kids like, oh, I have an imaginary friend named like Trick something. And so
you just said I had an imaginary friend named Tits.
Ah, shit. Not me. His kid had an imaginary friend named Trick something. And he said that he was like, before he had his kid, he had the house, and he saw one time he was just walking in, and he fucking like saw this big shadow, like the shoulder was up to his head, like right in front of him on the wall. And then when he turned around, he just like felt cold, and then it was gone. And then like random banging, like stuff like that. But his son was like, I have an imaginary friend. He likes to stare out windows, and sometimes he comes around the house. And they moved, and he's like, hey, so do you still have your friend Trick or whatever? He's like, yeah, he visits sometimes. And then he's like, well, is he still here now? And he's like, he told me to say no. I went, fuck that, dude, not having it. And so then he has a little girl too that was born in the new house.
Now you have my attention.
Oh my god. Has a little girl born in the new house, and she goes, oh, geez, this music is loud as fuck. Stop. It's creeping me the fuck out, dude. All right. She goes, she has an imaginary friend but doesn't have a name. She's like, did he tell you his name? And she's like, no. And then he's like, well, what's he do? She says, he likes to look outside windows, and sometimes he takes things that isn't his. And he's like, what the fuck? The stories match up? And then he's like, well, is he here? He's like, yeah, he came from the other place. I'm like, oh, what the fuck, dude? Like, kids aren't elaborate enough to, like, set something up like that and have their stories match. Like, that's fucking creepy to me. And so, and then my head custodian, he's like, yo, do you have dogs? And because he's like seen 2 dogs just randomly, like they're really riley and stuff, and they'll just randomly stop and stare at a spot in the wall. And they both will just stare at a spot in the wall, and like their ears will perk up and stuff, and they'll just stare at it for like a while and then go away. But I'm like, that's fucking creepy. But he tells a story, and he's like, we're asking him about like if he believes in spirits and stuff, and he's like, you know, there's always a possibility. And he says, like, he's like, I actually saw my cat come back to life. And we're like, what the fuck? And he said, I'm going to tell you exactly how he told it. He says, we were looking for the cat, and the freezer is always open, and we always have to shut it, and I always forget to do it. And so one day I saw it open, so I shut it. And I went back or whatever, and then so I came home from work, and my daughter said she couldn't find her cat at all. She could not find her fucking cat. And I'm gonna full face this. She could not find her cat at all. So we looked all over for it. He's like, I don't really want to look for the cat, but he looked all over for it. And then he realized the freezer. He goes, looks in the freezer. The cat is frozen to death right there. He's like, ah, shit, I can't tell my daughter she's missing or gone. Like, we're looking for it, and it's right there. So he's like, ah, shit. So he's like, okay, well, I gotta tell the truth. He's like, I'm sorry, but she's dead. And his wife comes from a Hawaiian Japanese background, so they have weird rituals and stuff. And so he's like, do you know the huna huna nuka nuka apawa'a fish? Which is a fish, it's real. And you spell it N-U-K-U-N-U-K, wait, H-U-N-U-H-U-N-U-K-U-N-U-K-U-N-U-K-U-N-U-K-U. Look it up. Anyways, he's like, they believe that that's like, can be a spirit form and stuff. Anyways, he's like, he talked to her, he's like, she's dead. And she says, do we have leaded gasoline? And I'm like, oh, well, yes, we don't have it, but my dad probably has it. What? He's dead. I'm not, like, what are we gonna try? He said, she said, just go get the gasoline. And so he goes to his dad's house and he's like, Dad, I need leaded gasoline. Do you have any? He said, well, yeah, but why do you need it? And he's like, that was the weirdest thing I had to explain ever. And then so he got it and he brought it back to the house. And she said, okay, now open its mouth. It's fucking frozen to death. So obviously it's like hard to pry open. It's really gross. And so he does it. And she said, okay, now get like a dropper. He's like, so I got a spoon. And I pretty much spoon fed some of the gas into the cat. And she said, like, you got to believe that it'll come back. You have to believe, and you have to start petting it like it's alive. And he said, okay, this is fucking weird. And so he just started doing it. And then, like, within an hour, the cat's ear twitched. And then slowly, it got up, acted like normal, walked to the daughter, meowed. It was the craziest thing he's ever seen. But then it turned, took 3 steps, then died.
What the fuck?
We're like, oh, that's so sad. And then he says to us, yeah, it ran out of gas.
So which one of us is gonna kill ourselves first?
It was all a joke he made up. He was the best. He got us so into it. It was crazy. Oh my god. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. He just thought of that on the spot too. I'm like, how do you even come up with that, dude? Oh my god. I was like, holy shit. He got us so into that too, man. Oh
Jesus
my
Christ.
god. I was like, you gotta be kidding.